tell you some things I may not have told you before. These are odd and strange things that I have seen. The first one is a childhood memory of a beautiful Christmas morning after Santa came when I opened a box from Santa and it had the creepiest, ugliest doll in it I've ever seen. I have a photo of this doll somewhere, but she spent her life in the closet in the box. And then later on, after my mother passed, because she always liked the doll, I took that doll out in the backyard and I burned her in a bonfire. She was an ugly, scary thing. Next thing I remember, I was riding my tricycle around and around through the hall and these rooms of the old house. In the summertime, the doors were open. And I passed the bottom of the staircase and I looked up. And there is a woman on the stairs in old-fashioned clothing with her hair up in a bun. And she has a bucket and a scrub brush. And she is cleaning those stairs. And to this day, out of respect for Grandmother Lizzie, I clean those stairs about once every 2 weeks, just like she did. The next thing was when I was a teenager, my friends and I were riding around one night on a road they called Owl's Hollow Road. It's a scary place. I don't know if it is now. It's probably full of subdivisions. But at that point, there was nothing there except for some old abandoned houses and an old church with no windows. And as we were riding down through there listening to Led Zeppelin, in the headlights, we see a man walking on the side of the road in nasty clothes, and he is dragging an axe. And I don't have to say, we got the heck out of there pretty fast. And then one time I was on the telephone. Now, this is right after wireless phones came out. And I was on my phone in my house talking to a friend of mine, and all of a sudden, and I didn't have a second line. There was no other phone in the house, and I was alone. And in the course of our conversation, all of a sudden, we hear over the phone line. And she heard it, and I heard it. And then the phone popped, and we got off the phone, and we never did figure that one out. Next thing was, when I lived in Memphis and did my house gigs on Beale Street, I had a beautiful apartment. It was an old brownstone, and the apartment that I moved into had been occupied by an elderly couple who had passed there. They had died there in that apartment. I never saw them, but what I did see, because of my bulldog Nosy, who paid attention to everything and ate anything he could get his hands on, just to be mischievous, he alerted to something one night coming through the hallway into the French doors. And out of the corner of my eye, he growled and got up. The hair on the back of his back stood up. And I'm looking, and I see the image of a cat. But what frightened me so much is I could see through the cat. And it had its tail up in the air, and it was just walking along. And so he charged the cat and ran into the wall. And the next day I went to my landlady because we had become good friends, and I asked her, I told her what I'd seen, and she said, well, I told you, and I think you thought I was joking, that apartment is haunted. And I went, well, I don't think it's a joke anymore, if I did at all. And then one day, years ago, when Google Earth first came out, and I was on my desktop, and I was looking at our property on Google Earth, and up at the end of the trail, there is a spring located on the power line right-of-way in a little hollow, and there are images of different parts of the land, and right there on that image is a creature. It is white. It is about knee-high. It has a face, but you can't really make it out because it's blurred and pixeled, but it is looking up at whatever took that shot. And it was the longest time before I wanted to go back up there. No kidding. And then the day after my mother passed away, I was here at the old house, and I was looking out the kitchen window where my mother used to stand all the time. She loved to do dishes at that window and watch the birds. She would put food out for them. I'm looking straight out the window, and at that point, our blueberry bushes weren't so high, so you could see the back field. And through the window, something caught my eye. It was moving, and I thought I was about to see a deer or something. No, it was a creature, a hairy thing, I think. It was dark. It was all dark, blackish brown. And to either side of it were two small children dressed in odd clothes. And they walked off across the field toward the west. And I ran out the back door to try to see them, but it was gone. I have no explanation for that whatsoever. And then a family member and her husband decided to live here in the old house for a while. And they chose, of all things, right after my mother passed away, her bed, her bedroom. And Laurel had an experience in that bedroom. She was sleeping in that bed, and her husband was gone. He was at work, and she's sleeping in the bed, and suddenly she hears, right next to her ear, a woman's voice says, "Get out." She didn't hesitate. Laurel got up in her bathrobe, ran out the back door, and got into her car and refused to come back into this house. Ever. She never came back into this house. And then the little tornado man. Now, during the April 2012, I believe it was, tornadoes that we had that were so bad down in Tuscaloosa, we had debris balls flying through the air this far away. We found pieces of old photographs and things and banknotes and personal items, a baby shoe, all kinds of things that just tore my heart up. But in the front yard was an object. I thought it was a part of a tree limb. It was embedded in the ground like this, head down. And I went out to see what it was. I pulled it out of the ground, and it was a little African effigy. It was a little warrior about this tall. He's on the front steps. If you come to the old home place, you'll see an elephant and the little warrior, the tornado man. And he turned out to be of Yoruba origin, which is one of the peoples that my husband Paul's family were missionaries to in Nigeria. So how odd is that? And the last thing, in 2020, we had a tornado on Easter Sunday night that basically took the roof off the house and did a lot of other damage around here. And ground zero for that tornado, or whatever it was near my roundhouse. And my roundhouse survived the tornado, but it was the loggers who felled a tree on my roundhouse. Shame on them. That was a really cool place to hang out. But at any rate, when the roof was damaged, I had to get roofers to come and give me estimates. And while pieces of the roof were no longer on top of the house, I decided I would go up into the attic and get a good look and video what I saw. Maybe for insurance purposes, I didn't know. But as I'm crawling around up there, and to get into the attic, you step in through a small door inside a dark closet. And there's no floor inside the attic, so you have to be careful where you step. And then there's a ladder going up to the third story, which is even more treacherous. So I was on that second story in the attic, and I was looking up, taking shots of the roof, and I took about 60 shots of different things. And when I came back downstairs, I thought I would upload them to my laptop. So I did, and that's when I saw him. And this sends chills through me, and I don't like going in the attic, but I still have to occasionally. I saw in this photograph, and I still have the photograph. I can find it and show it to you if you'd like. A translucent little round head with two huge frightened black eyes and a little mouth going, peeping down at me from the rafters on the third floor. And I don't mind telling you, I got the heck out of there. So, and I haven't taken any more pictures up there I don't believe. But at any rate, those are some things I have experienced. Have you ever experienced something odd and unusual? Post a video. uh, post it on YouTube or Facebook, and let's hear it, because everybody has a story to tell. And by the way, happy Halloween.